And we're rolling. Blinding. We're going to look into the art of photography and the philosophy and look at some past masters. Basically, this is for me to encourage my enthusiasm, to keep that momentum going, to go out into the world and get that real burning passion for photography. Photography philosophy, why we go out to take photos, the motivation, the history, the passion. This video is spotlighting Henri Cartier-Bresson. He's known as the father of photography. Henri Cartier-Bresson pioneered street photography and helped devise the theory of the decisive moment, which captures a fleeting, spontaneous moment. The camera he used was a Leica, and they're still going today, of course. But back then, 35mm photography was portable and light, because before that, it was big and heavy cameras and you couldn't really be discreet with those. So this enabled a new era of photography, especially street photography, capturing those raw, candid moments that usually weren't captured before. He used his trusted 35mm and 50mm lens. Of course, they're still popular today for that kind of thing, and maybe we all try and go out there and emulate that kind of reaction too. Of course, we still go out there today using our 35 and 50mm lenses, probably the most popular focal lengths for that kind of thing, to try and emulate this nostalgic feeling of going out into the world and capturing moments like they did. Henri Cartier-Bresson was first a painter. He was really interested in surrealism and geometry. Well, he didn't get on with that too well, so he turned to photography, and he used those principles the same to capture. At first, even though he's from France, he didn't stay in France to take photography at first, because he's famously said, you can't be inspired where you are, because you know it too well. So he went to the opposite side of the world, he went to Asia. But during his early life, in 1931, during his military conscription, where he was stationed in Africa, and while he was in Africa he read Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which is a mysterious journey of discovery of the unknown, going down a river into the heart of darkness. And he lived out there for quite a few months until he got black water fever and nearly died. When World War II broke out, he joined the French army as a film and photography unit, but unfortunately got captured by the Nazis and put in a prison of war camp. Tried to escape twice and failed at that, and they put him in solitary confinement each time. But on the third attempt, he escaped and joined the French resistance in helping them and helping other photographers in military and resistance efforts. I wonder what effect that would have while being in a war like that and being captured and everything, and trying to get away. It must affect you for the rest of your life. And I wonder if that affected his humanitarian agenda that was later to come. His first photojournalism projects, though, were actually in the UK, in England, here, where he captured King George VI's coronation. But instead of taking photos of the royals, he took candid photos of the public, and he got some truly memorable pictures there. So after the war, in 1947, Henri Cartier-Bresson and others, including Robert Capra, created Magnum Photo Agency. So what they did, they got all the assignments all around the world, and they shared it between them, with the agenda of being quite liberal-minded and capturing humanitarian efforts of the things going wrong in the world and those victims who didn't have a voice. That's where he went to Gandhi's funeral in 1948, and he captured the end of the Chinese Civil War. His most famous, iconic image is the person running over some water. And the way he's captured it, the person is just about to touch the water. And only that very fraction of a second creates a lot of tension, anxiety and drama and excitement. Because you know what's going to happen, but it's just before the action and reaction. And this is what's called the decisive moment. And so this cemented for generations after him, and even today, 70 years later or more, that desire to capture something that's quite unique and spontaneous and only a fleeting moment. I think that's what all street photographers go out there to kind of emulate. Waiting on that corner, they found the right composition and framing and light. They just need some action to go into it. Most of the time that doesn't happen, I guess, but that's also the challenge. This is an interesting quote. He says, "I believe that through the act of living, the discovery of oneself is made concurrently with discovery of the world around us. which can mould us. A balance must be established between these two worlds, the one inside us and the one outside of us. Both these worlds come from a single one that we must communicate. So he was very aware of the philosophy of photography and what it is to take a photo and capturing this mysterious. I mean, photography is quite a strange medium if you think about it. It emulates a lot of what we think about life, capturing moments that are fleeting and maybe never captured again. And our position as a photographer to choose certain moments that mean something to us or other people. He did return to France after travelling the world and took some iconic street photography photos using his ideas of geometry and the spontaneous moment. This one in France with the stairs, and he must have waited for the bike or something to pass through the street. And it's a beautiful moment that is perfectly composed there within the frame. Also, one of my favourites is the one he'd taken in Greece. Again, using shape quite intensely here. And again, he must have waited for the boy or the person to appear in that space. But it had to be the right shape. And they always seem to be moving action within the geometry of a stationary objects like buildings and stairs. I mean, what would that photo be without that person in it? Would it still be good? Would it still have that intensity of movement and action? In 1966, he withdrew from Magnum Photography Agency. As he said, it's pretty much all been done. And I guess all artists get burnt out, and he had achieved a lot with his life and wanted to go back to painting to discover something new. He even had an honorary degree from Oxford University, where he famously puts the award in front of his face so it can't be photographed. As he often said, he doesn't want to be known for being famous. I guess throughout my photography career, I learned quite early on to wait and see what happens with a scene. Instead of taking lots of photos, I mean, that's perfectly fine if that's your technique. But I've always been a photographer that analyses a scene and waits for the right moment. Also because I don't want to deal with all the editing afterwards. But waiting for that right moment, sometimes you might miss it in waiting, but sometimes you have to analyse a scene and read people's faces and the mood of a location. That's where I get the most enjoyment out of photography. And this all does come from Henri Cartier-Bresson's approach, without me really knowing it. Maybe I studied him when I first went into photography and I forgot about it, but maybe it's built in all of us now. Everyone's agenda that we don't really know. It's so natural for us to find this candid, spontaneous moment. Similarly to him, I used to find portraits quite difficult to achieve, and it is quite challenging. I found the most important thing now is getting a rapport with the person you're taking with, so they can be relaxed. Because even me, if someone takes a photo of me, I automatically clench up a bit. It's natural. Can you actually take a genuine portrait of someone? Are they always putting on a show when you know you're taking their photo? Especially these days with people are used to taking selfies with the right angle, the filter, and they know what works for them. So all these dimensions do make portrait photography really difficult and challenging. And also, like him, he often said, seldom do I take a good photo. And it's nice to know, because the hit rate of my photography is quite low with the ones I put out there. And that's fine, because that's the art of photography. That's the philosophy of not putting all your work out there and just putting your select favourite ones out. Street photography will always have a charm. Grabbing the camera or your small lens. This isn't small, but or a small lens. Let me find a small lens. Like a small lens, and going out there and being discreet and kind of searching and hunting for the right moment, the right light, the right subject, the right action. And most of the times that's not going to happen. But it really is fun to do it. I mean, I ought to go out there and just choose a day, choose a morning, go out there, try and find a spontaneous moment. It sounds like a fun project to do. Whenever you talk about art theory and photography in that way, it could be that it could seem to bog it down into something that's quite natural to us to observe and take photos. But I find it quite interesting to delve into these theories and see what other people did and emulate that, really. I mean, technology now is so good. Does it take away from the challenge of photography? Even on our mobile phones, you can take multiple pictures really quickly and then choose which one you want to do to get that decisive moment. And on professional quality cameras now, you've got eye detection and ridiculous frame rates, and then again you choose the same one with eye detection, motion detection, auto light. It could be questioned, what are you actually doing with photography? Does that allow you though to think about the content more, think about what your position will be, instead of thinking about the technology of, is it in focus? But this also goes along with film photography coming back with young people now. I was at a wedding recently and there's a picture of a young girl and a teenage boy, both had film cameras. I found that quite strange. Why don't they just have a mobile phone? It's the idea of taking a photo with a retro camera, with something nostalgic, something tangible where you are in control more, will always have a desired feeling about it. Even in Cartier-Bresson's day, he criticised other photographers for concentrating on lens sharpness and even depth of field then. And he said it was a distraction. And could we say that we're obsessed with technology? You know, we always want to get the best. And sure, I'm guilty of that, and Loz is too, that we love the technology and gear so much. Does that distract from going out there and thinking of new ideas? Or does it allow you to do that more? One of the best philosophies that Henri Cartier-Bresson gave us was that he said, every moment has a significance. I love the idea that he said every scene has a significant special moment. Now that's something to think about, isn't it? Because so every time you go somewhere, or in your house, or anything you do, there'll always be a special, significant moment. And that's quite hard to find and realise. But it's also exciting, isn't it? That there is one there to find. And the challenge is finding it. He says that there's no new ideas in the world. There's only new arrangement of these things. Everything is new. Every minute is new. That needs re-examining. Life changes every minute. So basically he's saying it's a postmodern idea that everything has been done, there's no new ideas, but he's also saying you can re-examine it and replay with the puzzle to create something new. And it does feel like that sometimes when everything's been photographed. Everything's possibly photographed from every angle. But it's nice to know there's an idea out there that you can rearrange things, you can do something new, it is possible. The greatest inspirational thought from Henri Cartier-Bresson is one that transcends photography, and a lot of art theory does really, much more than about the technology. He says, you just have to live, and life will give you pictures. I really like that idea that instead of waiting things to happen to you, or you have to go to them, you have to go to the projects, you have to make them. And it's quite challenging when we live such busy lives, and even I'm a full-time photographer, but seldom do I get a chance or the motivation to go out there and make a new project just for my own sake. So I really like the idea that if you live your life, then the photography will come. So I hope you found this useful, and I hope you found it quite inspiring, like I have, to look into all these things. And if you have any thoughts about this, please let me know. And if I've missed anything else about the great Henri Cartier-Bresson, please let me know too.